Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Iyer, sir. Also, I am honored to be here with Professor Bandopadhyay also. And actually, my presentation would be a bit more political in essence. It will talk about the health of the river in a different way than the previous presentation. It's very technical but very nice one. Mahanadi is not existing anymore in a way that I would like to say. This is we feel this is the most important peninsular river in the country at the moment, and we normally divide this hydrologically between upstream and downstream from the Hirakud reservoir, because that is a major project on Mahanadi so far. Somehow it's called the Asia's longest earthen dam structure, and it intercepts about 59% of the river. And Chhattisgarh and Orissa are the major riparian states in Mahanadi. Chhattisgarh having 53% of its geography covered by the basin, and Orissa 46%. So these two states actually have, Mahanadi is known as the Mahanadi. That's the mother river for both Orissa and Chhattisgarh. That has been the rice, one of the rich rice producing belt, and Mahanadi has been the contributor. And about 40 million people directly depend on this river in both the states, and obviously mostly due to irrigation, increase in irrigation during the last 50 years. There has been an increase of water by more than 7 times, basically the demand of water over Mahanadi. And recently, however, industries have come in as the new stakeholders, and the increase has been much more than what it was for the last 5 decades. And more than 1.1 million hectares of fallow land has been made cultivable in Mahanadi catchment area inside Chhattisgarh, and there's a lot in Orissa also. And about 30% of this have been provided with irrigation coverage. Odisha's major irrigation coverage is provided by Mahanadi. Hirakud, in fact, by far stands to be the one of the rice bowls of India is called the Hirakud command area. That is where there is one of the first testing places of India's first green revolution. So the Hirakud command is very important in that sense. But then Mahanadi is drastically reducing. The basin is, in a way, the river is shrinking. The basin has been more demanding. The people have been more demanding, more with industries. And as you can see, runoff from Chhattisgarh to Odisha has decreased at a rate of 4 to 5% every decade, which is, of course, is increasing at a fast rate now. And the average production of the river, basically production in the sense how much water we are using, during 1950 was 74 billion cubic meter, out of which 71 BCM was draining into the sea. By 2000, however, the production of water decreased by 10 BCM, and only about 40 BCM water was flowing into the sea through the river. So in a sense, the water use has actually been almost increased by 20%. And excessive industrialization during the last decade has made things, actually all the states are competing now to invite industries. Investment has become the basis of development. Everything revolves around investment, how much a state can actually invite. So everything else subsides when investment takes the stage. So both Odisha and Chhattisgarh are actually inviting a lot of investment, oh, we are blessed, or you can say cursed, by the mineral resources we have, and Mahanadi is one of the rich mineral river basins in the entire country. Drastic change in land use pattern has affected the state of the river. As I said, after Hirakud, in fact, lot of deforestation has happened. Mining has also increased a lot on the upper side of the basin, in Chhattisgarh and in Orissa both, and this has affected the river, its water, forest degradation, mining, industrialization, and now the new threat that the entire country of course faces is also happily staring at Mahanadi basin. That's called the coal-fired power plants. We are actually mad about it. India thinks it is going to be world's, I think, largest producer of coal fire, and Mahanadi has to bear a major brunt of it. And some studies refer that Mahanadi is one of the rivers where the impact of climate change is already very visible, and the surface temperature over Mahanadi is more than many other rivers. It's like some old data, still new data are not available. But then somebody, Mr. Dr. Ghosh, he said that the surface air temperature over the basin is increasing at a rate of 1.1 degree Celsius per century. This must have grown during the last 20 years, I am sure, which is more than double the rate of increase for entire India. So somehow Mahanadi is already vulnerable to that, and also it is going to be vulnerable because coal-fired power plants are actually one of the major emitters and heat generators. So the local temperature also is going to increase. It has already increased. I think something there, a lot of studies are needed, and definitely our practical experience from the field says that in the Mahanadi basin we have seen areas where during the last 10 years temperature has increased by 6 to 7 degrees Celsius, and this is on government record. So as it is said that climate change doesn't have a general impact over all the areas, it has got specific impacts, like on different places it will have different impacts. So this is the area, this is the basin where we have already seen that the average temperature is growing, has already grown by 6 to 7 degrees Celsius over the last 10 to 14 years. So this is a threat. But the major threat that we see and we have already realized is the change in water allocation priorities. During the last 10-15 years, our priorities of allocating water have actually changed, and we have focused more on the industries rather than irrigation and drinking water and other things, despite of the fact that our policies, after policies and all the documents in the government, they keep on saying that drinking water is our first priority. But in reality, providing water to industries is working out as the first priority of the governments, and Mahanadi is suffering due to that.